The point that some of the ulama, they mention the statement of some of the scholars in the past. They say, من عادة الله في خلقه أنه من خانه في نعمة سلبها إياه ولا بد. That is from the way of Allah, meaning sunnatullah al-kawniyah. In the way of Allah in dealing with the creation, that whoever betrays him as regards a blessing, that Allah may take it from them, and that is unavoidable. I mean, there's nothing that can protect you from Allah. If Allah decides to take a blessing from you, that you are betraying Allah concerning. That you are betraying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concerning. And they mention many stories. You hear in the statements of the scholars, and the advices of the scholars and so on and so forth. And a person who was known to do this, that, or the third, and Allah took their eyesight, Allah took their hearing, Allah caused them to become paralyzed, and so on and so forth. And he had Shaykh Abdul Razak ibn Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, and he was mentioning in his explanation of, one of his explanations, and he has a few explanations of, Ta'aliq ala al-Manzuma fi Sayri ila Allah wa Dar al-Akhirah, a book by Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, about the affairs of the heart and love and hope and fear and ikhlas and following the sunnah and other affairs and shukr and patience and other things. And that there was a young man that he visited in a hospital in Saudi Arabia who was quadriplegic. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And he had been injured in an accident. And he went to visit him in the hospital. And he said, he started to tell the Shaykh through tears after some time. He started to tell the Shaykh through some tears. And what he was experiencing, and he had been paralyzed for some time at this point. He was quadriplegic, so he's somewhere where people were caring for him and like this. And he said it was a hospital, from what I recall. Ala kullin, whatever the case, he said that he told the Shaykh through tears, he said, Wallahi, I'm happier now than I've ever been. He said, because when Allah tabarak wa ta'ala gave me a sihha wal afiyah, He gave me health and He gave me well-being and so on and so forth, I used it to disobey Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And I never came close to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And what I feel in my heart now, that I am in this condition, where I can make dua and dhikr and so on and so forth, and inaba, and all sorts of things, and I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life. And he counted it from the blessings of Allah that Allah caused him to become paralyzed. And so, a person needs to realize that, and this is not something that will happen to most people, when they betray Allah as regards a blessing, that Allah will actually take away the physical function of their limbs. The ability to see or hear, so on and so forth. But, وُجُودُهَا كَعَدْمِهَا. But their having those things will be like they don't exist. How many times does Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala in the Quran call the kuffar deaf, dumb, and blind? لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يفقهون بها ولهم عيون لا يبصرون بها ولهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل. They have hearts that they don't understand with, eyes that they don't see with, ears that they don't hear with. They are like cattle, بل هم أضل, and they are even more astray than that. And so the person, he does what? When he ignores safeguarding and dealing with his limbs in a correct way, and in these different parts of his body that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has given him, that are his ra'sul mal, that are his capital, he will lose the benefit of them. It will be as though he never had them. فمتى أحس بالنقصان انتقل إلى المحاسبة فحينئذ يتبين له حقيقة الربح والخسران. He said, and when he starts to feel النقصان, and that he is falling short in the agreement that he had with his limbs, and with this capital that he had to work with, which is his eyes, his ears, his tongue, his private parts, his hand, his feet, so on and so forth. When he starts to feel that he is negligent, he goes from al-muraqaba, supervising himself and watching over himself, to al-muhasaba, to reckoning with himself. He said, and then he will be able to see by doing check and balance, where the ribh and the khusran is. Where did he profit and where did he fall short?